Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is September 14th, and this is the Northwest Gateways Sustainable Community Action Plan Committee. So we have a full agenda. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and quickly um, do attendance. So I have a couple of people who has notified me that they would not be attending. So I'm just going to skip their names, but I see Linda is here. Sharon Hendricks. Albert Barnes, I haven't seen Albert Barnes for a while, and we can discuss this when we talk about the members, the voting members. But I haven't seen him attending these meetings for a while. Don Thompson?
Hi, it's Sharon Hendricks. I couldn't get myself off mute. Sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
here.
fine. I marked you
Thanks.
as being here. And then Dawn Thompson, I don't see Dawn.
Yes, I'm here. Can
Oh,
you
I'm
not see
sorry,
me?
Dawn.
I can't see myself. Okay, let me work on that, but I'm here.
Okay, good. Linda Keefe, Gloria Cooper, Grace Snowden, Jamelia Blount. I think Jamelia declined this meeting. Kaylin Thomas, Marilyn Evans, I see you. Michelle McCallum, I see you. Stephanie Hobman, Devon Parks, Cynthia Gilliam, India is here, and Sheila Lewis isn't here yet.
Yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
Sheila is here.
Her name's there.
All right.
I'm here.
Okay, good. I'm sorry? Okay. And really quickly, out of the people here, anybody is interested to join any of the subcommittees? Okay, I'll pass. Now what I want to do is talk about the cans and the benches and update you. I know I have been waiting to hear back from Miss Linda in order to do the next steps with the contractor that we have to order the 64 cans. So that process now is pending. And I'm gonna let you update the group about what you have heard from the state.
So can you bring up the screen that I sent you, the material
Yes,
I sent you?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Can everybody see the screen? Do you need me to
Can you
zoom
enlarge it?
in?
Yeah.
Enlarge it? Okay. Zoom. How do you, okay, here. This is easier over here, my plus. Is this better?
Yes, definitely. So what I did was the last time we met, I had agreed to go up and down the full length of Liberty Road, which is about 8.5, 9 miles long, and identify locations where there are trash cans and how many, benches and how many, and was it at a bus stop. So what you see are columns marked. X is one trash can, X under benches is one bench, and bus stop. If there's nothing there, it's not a bus stop. So if you scroll down,
All the way down?
yes, you can see in some cases there are two benches or two trash cans at a bus stop. And in other cases, like, can you hold right there, where, in my opinion, there are very high traffic areas where there's like Croydon, Key Locks, which is at the end of, where the Winnow post office is, where there's no trash can, there's no bench, and yet there's a bus stop there and there's nothing to receive the trash that's being just dumped on the street. So if you keep scrolling down, actually want to go back up. When you see key locks, go back up. Okay, so key locks, that takes us down. The end of that block, as you know, where the post office is Northern Parkway. That's where there's a space there. We then turn the car around, and instead of going west to east, we started back up Liberty Road, going east to west. And what we discovered is there are far more amenities on the opposite side of the street when you're going down toward the city than there are on, for some reason, than there are on going up Liberty Road in the opposite direction. So you can see, starting from Northern Parkway, you go past that food mark, then you go past Patterson and Balmoral Apartments. You still don't see one trash can. You get all the way to almost Essex Road, and that's when you start seeing the first trash can. You don't see any benches. So when I sat down on Monday with Miss Gordon from MTA and the person in charge of their capital projects, they had to admit, at first they said, oh, no, it's balanced on both sides of the street. And I said, no, I can actually prove it. Here's what's actually on both sides of the street. And I said, now here's the irony. At places like Essex and Liberty, where there is a major intersection, that's right there, a bus stop that lets people off for the Lockhern area, for the Woodmore area. It's across from Woodmore Shopping Center. Why isn't there a bench there? Why isn't there a shelter there? Why is there only one bus stop? Why is it that when you go up to Croydon and even Washington Avenue and Liberty, before you have to cross, if you were on foot, you would have to cross that long Beltway exchange, walking across, Washington, across the Liberty, down across 2 or 3 openings to get into the Beltway over to Croydon. Why isn't there anywhere to sit down if you need to sit down? That's several blocks. Why isn't there a trash can? Why isn't there a bench of some sort or a shelter? So what they've said is this, and I brought up closer to where some senior buildings are. If you go back up, go the opposite direction. Like, for example, where you see resource right there, that's the resource center, right? There's a trash can, only one. Now, this is the resource drive, right? People in a shopping district coming out of the resource center, coming out of Randallstown Community Center, the senior housing development. The only thing there is one trash can and no bench at all, even though a senior community is right there in back of the bus stop. So when I started pointing out the various places where there were senior communities, shopping centers, a lot of people going across the road to get to the hospital, they agreed that maybe it had been an oversight on their part. They said they don't have unlimited funds. They can't just replace trash cans for the sake of making them all match. They can't just replace benches for the sake of making them all match. And indeed, what my daughter and I saw was not all those trash cans need to be replaced. They don't. There are some that clearly do, but others don't need to be replaced. So it would be wasteful just to be replacing them just to make them match. Not all the benches need to be replaced, but what they are willing to do, they said, is, for example, at Resource Drive, they said there should be a bus shelter there. Down near Woodmore Shopping Center, there should be a bus shelter there. There should be bus shelters at major traffic areas that primarily get a lot of senior traffic and or school traffic. So what she said is, look at the list, see where there might be the high need areas along Liberty Road that really should have not just a trash can, not just a trash can and one bench, but tell them where we want shelters to go. And they will actually try to fit it into their capital budget. So we have the figures, and we can at some point, sit down and go through there and determine where in that list, just from those of us that live in the community and travel up and down Liberty Road every day, know there should be a shelter or a trash can or more than one bench there. And so they said they want to sit down and meet with us, not necessarily a whole big group, but sometime in the next month and a half. They do want to sit down and have a discussion of which exact trash cans can be replaced, need absolutely critical to be replaced because they can't replace everything. They said they don't have that kind of money from the state. But in terms of shelters and benches, let them know. So how do you feel about that?
Well, first
Can
of
we
all,
get a
thank
copy?
you.
Um,
Thank you for the extensive list. Yes, Miss Sheila.
can we get a copy of that list?
Sure. I will send that list to everybody.
Because it'll be easier to understand. And I appreciate the work that Linda Dorsey Walker did. It was very extensive. Um, I have another question. Is this only, can we only consider bus stops on Liberty Road?
That was all I looked at because that's all we had been discussing.
Right. Can we only, is it that we can only discuss bus stops on Liberty Road?
We can discuss any issues on Liberty Road.
I mean, is it only limited to Liberty Road, or can we take them? Okay, what I'm thinking about specifically is on Old Court Road. Just soon as you go down Old Court Road to the church, um, that's a bus stop, and it's in dire need of replacement trash cans and everything we're talking about. But it's not directly on Liberty Road. It's less, I guess, maybe just a block or so, because as soon as you go down Old Court Road and you pass the Checkers and the bank, that's the bus stop that's really terrible and needs attention. That's why I was asking, does this only pertain exactly to Liberty Road, or can we consider something like that?
You mean the one that's on the way to that large senior development at the corner?
The one right at the church before you go to the senior development at Oak Court and Church Lane.
I think they probably would consider, you mean in terms of a shelter?
The shelter, right? And because I mean the cans are out for some reason. Those cans are always overflowing. They don't get empty, and it
Well,
does
and
really
see,
bad.
that's the other thing we talked about. She said that they have a contract with ARC of Maryland. So she said, well, on the other side of the county, we have ARC. They're responsible for emptying the trash cans. I said, well, wait a minute. You do know we have an ARC on this side of the county. It's next to New Psalmist. It's next to New Psalmist Church.
Because I know we have a full agenda and everything is packed, and I want to make sure that we get to the end of the agenda. But you all are bringing like really good topics. Miss Sheila, just to answer your question, for this part of money, the focus is on Liberty Road. We can find grants and try to extend the areas to like the local areas from Liberty Road. But for this one, it's for the 250 we have, it's for
So we
Liberty
can,
Road.
so you're saying we can't consider that one trash can right there? It's less than a block away. It's horrible. And I mean, it's right across from the shopping center. I mean, people just think of it as one shopping area because you got the
But is it a bus stop?
urgent care right across from it is right behind the two banks, Harbor and Wells Fargo, and the Checkers. I mean, it's just, if someone said it, I mean, it's just so contingent to me of Liberty Road. It is horrible, and it does need attention.
Is it at a bus stop?
Yes.
Okay, so let's maybe try to finalize how many, because it was for 64 trash cans. If we don't need 64 trash cans, let's see, because from Linda's talking, there's some trash cans that don't need to be replaced. Maybe we can recycle from what we take from Liberty Road and try to fill the local roads, the ones that are really bad, and replace those with the ones that we have recycled.
And here's the thing, they said that they will only replace like trash cans if there's a answer to who's going to empty the trash. So if the Arc of Maryland can't do it, then a community group has to adopt that trash can.
Maybe Chime will be able to do it.
That's
Because
what I meant, Chimes. Yeah.
Chime is on Milford Mill Road, right
Well,
off of
Chimes, but the Arc is also on Patterson.
right. But that's what I'm
That's who
saying.
they already have a contract with to do the other side of the county.
But
Well, I think with the other side, ARC is getting paid to either a grant, that
Yeah.
was, yeah. So
And that's what she said.
okay. So I know Towson uses ARC, and maybe Ricestown, I'm not sure, but I'm sure about Towson using ARC. But that is to a sustainable community grant that they were able to apply for. So, but for this project right here, I know we've been trying to talk about the trash cans for a while now, and my goal would be to try to finalize what we can right now and order those and try to replace, if it's not all of them, little by little, because I know this project kind of started at the same time than Ricestown one. Theirs got already installed, and I just want Liberty Road to start getting something. Um, I don't know, what do you guys think about waiting another month or month and a half in order to talk to the state, or should we try to identify those? And I don't think that we want to order twice, because it's going to be more complicated to try to get the contractor to produce these trash cans twice.
So let me understand something, because the state is saying they will be responsible if if a trash can really needs to be replaced and it's at a bus stop, then they can be responsible for it. But if it's not at a bus stop, then someone else has to pay for the bus for the trash can. So you see on the list which ones are at bus stops and which ones aren't.
My understanding was, if it's a bus stop with a shelter, that is the responsibility of the state. If it's just
Right. But you're
if
talking
that
about
bus stop
using
has
our
a shelter,
250,000.
if
In other
that bus
words,
stop has a shelter,
hmm?
if the bus stop
What
has
I'm
a
saying,
shelter,
right? What I'm saying is, you're asking how much of our $250,000 do we absolutely have to use on replacing trash cans? The state is saying we'll be responsible for the trash cans that are at bus stops. But if you have trash cans on Liberty Road that aren't at bus stops, and you can see from the list which ones are and which ones aren't, then that's the ones that if they have to be replaced, we would have to replace it out of 250,000. Do you see?
I see a lot of chats. What do you guys
Most of
want
them
to do?
are at bus stops.
Do you want to wait? What do you want to do here?
I need to see. I really
Sheila,
need
do you
to see
still
the.
have your hands up?
I really need to see the list. I wish we had a copy of the list, so because then I can visualize what we're talking about. Now, I think the part of the problem is that Liberty Road has fallen into a dark hole, a deep dark hole, and we are trying to pull it up, and it's very difficult. Linda has done a phenomenal job of shedding light in that deep, dark hole. Now, if it wasn't for the tenacity and dedication of the members of the group, such as Linda, it will still be there. It's really unthinkable that we would have to even do a private citizen would even have to do that. We pay taxes to the state, we pay taxes to the county, and it's almost like the state and the county doesn't want to come together, doesn't want to work together for the betterment of our community. This is a deep, dark hole. It's just trash cans, a simple thing. It's a deep, dark hole that is on the shoulders of community members. And as much as I'm going to work with this process, I'm glad to see it going forward. We really should not have to do that. So I would need to see the list because I really do agree that those trash cans need to be replaced. We need to the state's position that if it's not a bus stop and all that kind of thing, to me is ridiculous. Um, for them to even take that position is instead of saying, I'm going to send someone out. Thank you for giving this information. I'm going to send someone out and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. So we really need to get together and put this list together.
Let me tell you what they did suggest. The young man named Teddy, that's from Capital Development. He said, I'm willing to arrange with your group to actually ride the bus. And we can actually get off at bus stops. Or we can go in cars and go from bus stop to bus stop. And we can make a decision about which ones and so forth. What I'm saying is, if there's another person, or maybe you all want to do it separately, to take the list that we already have, and then take the list and then drive the full 9 miles down and then up again, and then decide based on your opinion which of those do or don't really need to be replaced. Because some of them don't.
As far as I'm concerned, they all need to be. As far as I'm concerned, if we identify the trash cans, they all need to be replaced. Now, if the state goes and they see a trash can at that location that they feel does not be replaced, that's fine. But we've identified the locations. We've identified what the issue, what the problem is. We brought it to them, put it in their lap, and then they put another hurdle back and said, okay, well, suppose all of them don't need to be replaced. If he's willing to do that, he's got the list, he should drive it and said, okay, this problem was brought to us. It's a legitimate problem. It's a legitimate concern. Thank you for this information. And I will take this list where you have identified, and then they will say, we will replace this, we will not replace that. I mean, to have us as residents, taxpaying residents who are entitled to certain services, to have to put this on our back to do their work. I mean, I think part of it is letting them know you have not been doing your job. And we have to go to that level to get your attention, to have you do your job.
Can we just invite the rep to our next meeting? And then we can nip this in the bud. I'm really sorry, I have to go. I have a class at 7, but I just wanted to add my 2 cents there.
Okay, so is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Because I am going to be in touch with them again before then. I think I am going to take them up on their offer to go with them and look at it. I mean, that's not going to foreclose them from showing up because they said they absolutely want to show up at a meeting. But I do think, though, that we have to be realistic in that they don't have unlimited capital funds. When they actually designate them, they do them in 5-year blocks of time. So in other words, right now they are working on what did they say, 2022 through 2027 capital development projects. And even though we're thinking, well, it's just a trash can, it's just a bench, for them, that's a capital item. If it's going to be permanently fixed on the ground like that, it's still part of capital development, not necessarily a building. And so of great interest to me, though, is the notion of them being able to spend the money. Because I said, look, we're not talking about what you're going to do 4 years from now. Even though you're on a 5-year development cycle, we need these things to take place now. So they're saying that they will put a rush on it. Because I said, we are the part of the county that's been overlooked so many times. You know, like we were supposed to get the loop. We didn't get it first. There's a whole bunch of stuff that other people have gotten that this area didn't get first. So now it's unacceptable to say go into a 5-year waiting period. So they're saying, let us meet with you, identify where you really want based on the way you live up and down Liberty Road. Where do you know there's high traffic? Where do you know seniors need to be protected? Where do you know there are, disabled people having to make their way to and from medical appointments. Tell us where we need to add those extra shelters in addition to the trash cans. And then they will put that into their cycle so that they can one by one start putting those shelters in those places.
So my experience with the state has been that, like you said, they have their transportation letter, priority letter, and if it's not in there, they just don't add it to the capital budget. So I don't know if this is a capital budget or not for them. I know they have other priorities, like, I don't know, like traffic or like studies or stuff like that. I'm just not sure if replacing trash cans is one of their priorities. And from what I know is they only maintain the ones that have bus stop with a shelter. I am not sure how many shelters we have on Liberty Road. And I don't want to delay this project just waiting for the state to get back to us. And my gut, 80% of the chance it's going to be negative, especially if it's
So
just
you're
trash
saying
cans.
use our money to replace the trash cans that they're responsible for?
Maybe not all of them. What I'm saying is, what about between now and next meeting, because this is going to fall under the environment subcommittee. What about you take the list that you have and identify those? Let's get the ones that we think the state is going to take care of, which is the ones that have a shelter. And let's put those on the side and count how many we have left and try to put an order for those, because if we don't
There's
lock
only
the
like 4 or
price,
5 shelters on Liberty Road.
so
So
let's say
almost all of them are
64.
without shelter.
Listen to what let her finish, please.
So let's say we have 64 that the county right now is maintaining, removing the trash. We have 64 trash cans. Let's say we remove 5 of them because we think that the state will take care of those. And let's say we go back and we say, hey, in this location, the trash can condition is good. Let's not even replace that one. So what about we do that exercise and see how many really needs to be replaced, and let's put the order in, because if we don't lock the price now, I'm afraid that whatever we have quoted now is going to be more expensive in the future, because I have been having issue even having a contractor produce the trash cans. Until now it was, we don't have time, we have a lot of order, so it has to be next year, and I don't want to delay this project any further.
Okay, so all I'm saying is there's enough sites. If you bring that sheet of paper up again, there's enough ones that aren't at a bus shelter that we can go ahead and start replacing them now.
Okay.
I
I
agree.
think we're talking about the same. So what about the environmental? I'm sorry.
I agree. I think we should take that list, which has identified which, if there's no bus shelter there,
Scroll down.
we should say, okay, we're going to order that number. The ones that, if they, we know the state will only do a replacement if
there were like 3 at the top, then there's another 2 or 3, keep going down, there's 3, 4, keep going, there's 2 more lines, 3, 4, 5, 6. So start by identifying the ones that don't have a bus shelter and the ones that are at a bus shelter that are in terrible condition, that can't wait. So
so do we want,
other than someone going out and do it again, which I think is I don't think it's the best use of time. If we go to the ones that don't have a bus shelter, which we know the state will take care of, the state will take care of the ones with a bus shelter. We go to the ones without a bus shelter, and if it's a bus stop and if it's a bench, that needs a trash can. And the issue about whether it's got a dent or not a dent and all that kind of stuff, it needs a new trash can. If it's, we know if it's the shelter, the state would do it. So any place that has a bench, is a bus stop, that doesn't have the shelter where the state's going to do it, we need to put a trash can in. And the condition, to me, the condition is a secondary issue. We just need to assume that needs to be replaced because it's not, I mean, to say, okay, that has a dent as opposed to this has a dent, to me, that's,
No,
that's not worth
it's
the
not,
effort.
it's not about dent. For example, we only in the last few years had the bus line extended from Chapman Road out to Kings Point Shopping Center and back again. All of that beyond Chapman Road is new. So why would you be replacing that, which they only have had there for like 3 years?
All right, so I think this is not going to get resolved here. What I'm proposing is for the environment subcommittees, which is Sheila's subcommittee. Do you want to take on this task and identifying the one that I really need to order? I really would like to finalize that because it would be sad if we lose the price that we were quoted for. And I
What
know
was,
things aren't getting cheaper.
What was the price again?
Oh, I have to go back. It's in my PowerPoints, and let me quickly look for it. And that was for the 64 trash cans. Um,
I would say go ahead and order them because if we identify, let's say 20 trash cans that don't need to be replaced, that's 20 that we would have that if something comes up, we can just have them available to do. So, I mean, to me, the number that will be affected
Yeah.
is not significant to say, okay, let's hold that order.
How about you say that you're going to start with ordering a half order? You said 64, order 32. Or order 32 and then see where the highest needs are. You know that there are some places that don't have any trash can, like at Washington, like at Croydon, like at Key Locks. Those are high traffic areas, kids coming back and forth to school. There should be a trash can there. There should also be a bench, but there should be at least a trash can.
Well, I
so
don't think we should order. I don't think we should do half the order. I think look at the list where we don't have the can, order the can, and if we decide that 20 of those cans don't need to be replaced, we will still have those 20 cans in the future. Go ahead and don't worry about that kind of thing. Just look at the list. We need the can, order that can.
I
so
don't
we
see
can vote.
buying 64 cans,
Let's
not when
vote
they're
on
going to
this
buy
thing.
some.
So just as a reminder, we have 64 trash cans. The 64 trash cans were going to cost $60,000, $60,544. And that includes the cans and the liners. And the deal that we had with this contractor was that we were going to give them 50% down now, and then 50% later. And the delivery is not going to be until 9 months.
I would say order the trash cans because if again, order the cans. Like I said, that's identified on that list because 9 months from now, we're going through a winter. Some car might hit a can that looks wonderful now, but then it'll be dented by then. I just say order the cans and make sure it coincides with that list.
The list, meaning the list that we have from the county, which is
Um,
where every existing can is right now.
the list of where it was identified that we definitely need a can.
Yeah,
And
because in
there
some
were
cases we need more than one can,
But
where there's only
every
one
place
can.
needs every place needs one can. If we have a bus stop that doesn't have a can, it needs a can. If we have a bench that doesn't have a can, we need a can.
All right, so Ms. Sheila, do you want to go ahead and put
I
a
need to
motion
see
on
the
the
no,
table?
I need to see the list that Linda did. I think Linda did a phenomenal job. I need to see that list so we can determine what that number is. She identified that on her report, but we don't have it to actually go down and count it. I'm just saying that should be our process.
So with this list, we may, I don't know how many they are, how many trash cans there are here.
See, there's a whole bunch of, especially coming up Liberty Road,
Right
like
Is that
on the
in the first
locker
column.
inside, there's no trash cans.
Right, in the first column, anything that doesn't have an X needs a trash can.
right? But
So,
so let's say I'm sorry. So let's say it doesn't have a trash can right now. Even if we put a trash can there, the county will not pick up the trash because we are only having 64 trash cans right now that the county has in the capital budget for pickup. And that's the reason why we wanted to just use the trash cans that we are picking up now, trash, and replace those.
Well, the thing
So,
about it, just like you said, we're trying to move along, and part of the reason for the delay and that we're not moving faster is because of the regulations that of the county that's really hampering our process. To say, okay, we've identified a bus stop that doesn't have a can, but we want to put a can there, and the county's like, well, we're not going to empty that, so why should we put a can there? I mean, we've already
so
identified where we need a can.
right. So what I would suggest to you, and it's up to you to take it, but what I would suggest is what about we go ahead and order the 64 trash cans. We lock the price now. In the meantime, we have 9 months anyway before delivery. In the meantime, if we advocate for putting capital money in the putting money in the capital budget for more pickup of trash cans so that places, areas that don't have trash right now, in the future or like in 9 months, would be able to put a new can there, and money, there would be money in the budget to pick up that area.
And ma'am, if you remember, I did ask Oleski to put into his budget,
Mhm.
to put into the budget for the picking up for the trash cans and picking up the trash off of Liberty Road. And I don't know how we would have gotten information back as to whether, in fact, they did that.
And who was that you asked?
Johnny Oseski.
It's that town
Oh,
meeting?
at the town hall meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, yeah, I wouldn't know.
And
No,
I
he
think
was
I think
presenting, the budget was already set when he came to the meeting.
Hmm.
No, it was for the next budget season. It was for the 23. I have to look at the notes.
So
But
we are really behind time here.
this
And I
is
know we've
really
been spending
this is really for the
spending
23 budget. And if she's asking, and if he considers it for the next budget, since the cans won't be in for 9 months, if he puts that in there, then when those cans are there, it will have the money to be there. And I think that needs to be a serious action item. If we're, I mean, look at all what we have to go to get trash cans. It's not just off in our power to do so. We need the county to step up and do something too. And she put the request in. I mean, do we have to put a formal request from this group that asks
yeah.
for an
Also,
executive?
also
So
don't
what
forget, not just the cost of the cans, but the installation is a cost.
Well, the installation
the installation is,
is
I'm sorry,
already
the
figured in that
installation will already
It's in
be,
there.
That's
It's in there,
it's
64,000.
60,000. So
Okay.
we need for ongoing maintenance.
all right, so
So
this is what I propose, right? So are we good with ordering the 64 trash cans? And in the
yes,
meantime, environment subcommittee, if you want to put a proposal, and that by that time you will see the areas that has no trash cans and really need trash cans. And let's identify those areas and put a proposal for adding more money in the capital for pickup. And then when we bring those 64 trash cans, we're gonna have extras. And if we have money for pickup, we have the trash can to be installed there by the time we know if there will be money in the capital budget or not. Are
Okay,
we
but
good?
then that's a different thing than the longer term thing of also providing benches and shelters.
we know that.
Um,
We know that. We have to consider it separate in order to move forward. We can't do it all at one big chunk. We have to do one piece at a time.
Okay, so
Well, no,
I
actually,
would
I think we
say,
can do both because we have to get in their timeline because it's long term. I think we still meet with the MTA, at least I plan on it, to make sure that we start identifying where some of those shelters need to go because that's going to be their cost, not the county's cost in any case.
no, I think that sounds good, Miss Linda. If you wanna coordinate that with the state, that would be great. Okay, so I want to move on to the subcommittee reporting, and I think we're good. Are we all good with me ordering the 64 trash cans tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh yeah, and something I wanted to talk about is the benches. So not only, I know, Linda, as part of your exercise, you also identified the benches. So the benches, is that a project that you guys want to pursue, or are there other projects more, I mean, you know, with a higher priority than the benches? So my question to you, in addition to the trash cans, you also want to replace benches or add benches?
Well, I'm going to try to have them add benches at bus stops. It's only the non-bus stop areas that they're not willing to even discuss it.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead to the subcommittee reporting, and here I have 5 minutes for sharing and 5 minutes for discussion. And the first one, Miss Carla is not here. Anybody from Miss Carla's group who wants to report back? Let me see who's Miss Carla. India, Sheila, Michelle. Anybody wants to report on your subcommittee? All right, so this is what I got from her. Let me share my screen. So from economy promotion and rebranding, they are proposing 2 projects. The first one is to design a light pole flag that indicates the boundaries of the Liberty Road corridor. And she said we have committee members who are willing to design it. And then install art or decorative features that enhance the Liberty Road area. And she said we could engage middle and high schoolers to compete to have their design featured along the corridor. And the cost would be to print and hang the light poles flags, install them, and the art decorative features throughout the corridor. So that this is their projects.
What happened to the planters? Like, I live in a community where everybody said, let's get flags for the community to identify our community. Let's see, those flags faded to ugly in about 2 years. We've now replaced them twice, and they need to be replaced again. Flags sound like a good idea, but they're expensive to put up and they fade really, really fast.
Okay, so we'll have an opportunity to vote. So if you don't agree on this, just vote no. So let me move on. Are there any other questions, comments on these? Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the second committee, environment and quality of life. Miss Sheila. Miss Sheila, do you want me to bring up your report on the screen?
Yes. Can you give me just 1 minute, please, and I'll be right there. Because I would like to talk about the idea that we submitted for the environmental committee. Can you hear me?
Say that again.
I said I would want to talk about what we submitted for the environmental committee.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna call you back. Because what happened was when we went through it and we said there was some money left over. Um, since we were going to do the additional trash cans, we were thinking about, and this was one of the strategies about um, posting no littering signs along Liberty Road. Because one time we had even discussion in the meeting that maybe because some of the issues was that the trash cans weren't being emptied as much as they should, and we even talked about placing a small notice on the can, giving the cans a unique number that a person can call and say, hey, the can number blah 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 needs to be emptied. But in addition, the no littering signs along Liberty Road. Now, my issue about the littering signs is that I don't want people to think that the litter that appears on Liberty Road is because the residents are dropping all this trash. A lot of that litter, it comes from people going through the communities, driving through and throwing it out the cars and all that kind of thing, not even thinking about it. So the kind of no littering signs that should be posted, I don't know if it's long term, even if it's for um, um, 3 months, 6 months, littering signs that are facing the traffic going west and east on Liberty Road saying no littering. Whether we talk, I don't know, we're talking about a billboard or something, but bringing those people who drive through that corridor who are throwing stuff out their car windows to say, please stop littering. Because
Okay.
we talk about enforcing litter laws with fines. I mean, that's kind of hard because how are you going to get a police to, get someone who's just chunked something out the window just because they throwing out the window? But I think the no littering signs to bring to people's attention, please stop littering, is what we were thinking about.
Okay, so your proposal is to post no littering on Liberty Road.
Right. And this
Fine.
and
Okay.
and like I said, to also to gain the motorist attention because they're the
Okay.
people who's throwing junk. I mean, I've been right there and seen people, and I'm like, why are you doing that? They just chunk it right out the window. So it's not like the residents are walking up and down the street and decide to bring their trash out and throw it on Liberty Road. Most of what's that litter on Liberty Road is from motorists going through. So I'm thinking about
Okay.
signs for the motorists.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Sheila's group? Comments? Okay.
I think
me-
there's some,
Let
I
me
think
stop so
there's
I can
some
see
people are so
you.
obstinate and willful that seeing that sign would make them litter.
Okay. So the next one is housing and transportation, Miss Linda.
Okay, so I did get a chance to talk with the folks at MTA about the loop, bringing it to our area, and they are saying that this is due to be the next one on the list. That's part of the reason that they want to meet with us, not just to talk about bus shelters, but also to talk about possible ideas for where the loop would run to maximize its usage. You know that we got passed over and it went to Towson, but they also pointed out something. It wasn't just a county, and yes, the MTA had some advisory role in that process, they said, but it was also that they had an active chamber of commerce that decided that they wanted to be part of the development and deciding where some of the stops would be and doing some of the planning. So the question is, do we have anything comparable to that? We could say we have the Liberty Road Resource um, group. You know, we have a number of different groups that are not quite at that same level as the Towson Chamber of Commerce.
So
So
what is your
that would be the
proposal?
jumping off point to
I'm sorry,
that
what is your proposal for the rest
we
of the money?
identify the groups that might be comparable to that Towson Chamber of Commerce to be part of a group that would begin a discussion about where, if you were to have a loop bus that started at Owings Mill subway station and came over to Liberty Road and stopped at key senior buildings and the community center and the library area and goes over to the hospital. Where else would it go? Because we know they said the more stops that you have, the less effective the loop is. So we would have to decide what the stops will be. The longer it has to run down Liberty Road, the less effective it's going to be. They said that after a while, you end up just duplicating the existing bus system. So, but the main thing is that it needs to be short enough to make it useful
Okay, so
and
this is
useful
gonna,
and useful to youth too.
yeah, this is gonna have to be a conversation between DPWT, the state, and maybe, a group of stakeholders. because they are the one leading the loop and the circulator in the county. So
But that's what
is
we
this
said we were going to talk about as part of transportation.
right? So that's what I'm saying. So like you as part of the subcommittee, if you want to coordinate that meeting between DPWT and the state and, just to start the conversation, initiate the conversation to identify what that route would be.
Okay, who else besides those people who have stepped forward? Because I've already talked with DPWT and I've talked with the state. So they both said, let's have a meeting. When would you want to start meeting, and who else would want to be part of that conversation?
So Linda, this is Amy Menzer. I'm sorry, I just
And yes, and
was
you,
at another meeting, and so I just hopped on about, I don't know, 10 minutes ago. Um, I think this would be a great project for the Community Development Organization when it's up and running, but that unfortunately is going to be probably a few more months before that steering committee gets convened. So I think that, so one thought is this Northwest Gateway Steering Committee could act as the convener for stakeholders. Or if you're willing to wait a few months, that might be an interesting project for that steering committee to take on. And I would work to include the Liberty Road Business Association. But I agree. I don't have an impression that they're anywhere near as strong as the Towson Chamber of Commerce. And in fact, there's no chamber in the county has the strength of the Towson Chamber of Commerce, in part because of the businesses that are located in Towson. So
now the Northwest
it'll just
Chamber
be
of
different.
Commerce, the Northwest Chamber of Commerce does
Yeah,
have some strength, but they kind of see their catchment areas being up and down Ricestown Road, and then going
correct.
over to include the subway station, Foundry Row, and that whole Metro Center.
Well, and so their involvement in this particular initiative,
They
because
are involved.
it links in with the Owings Mills Metro, would make a lot of sense. So it could be an interesting group of stakeholders. You've got Northwest Hospital. So I think maybe the subcommittee of this steering committee could think about what's the list of people that should be involved, and kind of a time frame for that. And I mean, I'm happy to help with that if you want,
Okay.
or not.
And
So
I was going to get back to you about what you wrote to me about
no worries.
early October.
All right, so seems like we have 3 items for vote, but before we go into vote, I want to talk about the voting procedures that I want to propose, and see if what you think and if we should adopt them. So I'm gonna go ahead. I did share that with you by email, but let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so seems like we're going to be doing a lot of voting here. So I put this procedure together. And I'm just going to read it quickly. So all members of the committee will be notified of a voting date and procedure. Each member will have the opportunity to vote either in person, if we do in-person meetings, or virtually, or through an email. And then the voting will follow the decision-making requirements. So if we have items for vote, I will notify you ahead of time before the meeting and let you know that these are the items that will be needed vote. And you can either vote through that email or vote when we do meet. So there is also, I know that we are using this committee to just, report on the extensive work that you guys have done with your subcommittee meetings. Like, for example, Linda went and did that exercise of identifying all the trash cans, and so on. So this will be a mean to just report on those extensive work that you have done with your subcommittee, so that because we are only here for 1.5 hours, just make sure that we use the time accordingly. So 2/3 of the committee members will constitute a quorum. Right now, I don't know what 2/3 means, because we need to come up with who are the voting members. And once I have a total, then we'll determine what 2/3 means in order to have a quorum. And then when you are unable to be physically or virtually present, like I said, again, you can participate through email. And then in order to go to a motion, a quorum is required. And then 2/3 of meeting participants must vote in the affirmative to pass a motion. Each voting member has one vote, and all committee meetings will be recorded. And like we said last time, the Robert's Rule of Order will be used at all committee meetings. And here I'm talking about the voting members. Who are the voting members and what determine a voting member? What are those criteria? So that's what I would like to quickly, discuss, because I know we have 20 people, 20 members in the committee. Some members have not attended maybe the last 3 or 4 meetings. Those are what I wanted to discuss. What criteria do you think you should make a voting member? And here I have, is it attendance? Is it that you have to be attending the meeting? Is it that you have to belong to a subcommittee? What other criteria will make you a voting member? Or do we say anybody who's present at that meeting vote?
Um, you hit a topic that was on my mind. I put a note as you was going through, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who are not at this meeting who I know attended the subcommittee meetings that I'm on.
Okay.
And like I said, they haven't been regular attendees at these meetings, but they did show up and participate in the subcommittee meetings. And that was my question. If someone, even if they weren't at this meeting, but they had the input for the subcommittees because they attend the subcommittee meetings, would they still be considered a member in good standing?
Yeah, and we can open the topic for discussion. That's what I'm actually asking to the whole group. What constitute a voting member in good standing? Or what constitute a member in good standing first? Any comments from anybody? You guys,
I would say attendance at this meeting.
Yeah, I think these meetings are even more important.
And I would say the subcommittee, because if we didn't have input from the subcommittees, then this meeting wouldn't have anything to consider or discuss. I don't know.
so if I hear you well, you have to be attending the meeting, but also participate in the subcommittee in order to vote.
I would say or, but that's just me. I'm wanting to hear what other people have to say.
Okay, and I see Miss Michelle.
Hi. I think that, you might want to just talk about 75% of meetings, give people, obviously no one can make every meeting. I didn't attend any of the subcommittee meetings. I gave information to one, but it was not available for the others. But I hope that will change. But I think that, or expect that will change. But I think if you come to, like I said, 75%, you should be able to vote on topics that are discussed and presented in our full committee meeting.
That's an even higher standard than we have for Central Committee, which is only 50%.
Well,
And
I'm
that's
just
what the
throwing
state
something
committee
out
gives us
there,
too.
right?
They
Nobody's
use
going to come to
50%
every
off.
meeting. Everybody's got busy lives.
It's 50%, and it's always been that way, even at the national level.
And that 75% is from now. So for example, today, the members that are not present, is it, okay, so.
Well, Linda offered an alternative, right? 50%. You come to at least half of the meetings.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would say is that if it's 50%, you have potential that more people can vote.
Yeah.
If your quorum, however, is 2/3, but people, you can get in a situation where if only half of the people show up, then you never have quorum.
Okay,
That's
so
why,
Technically, you
that's,
can't do
that's,
anything.
that's
this
why
was
some
just
of
a
the,
proposal. Maybe
Yeah.
we
that's why
just
some of the
remove
homeowners
the quorum.
associations,
Yeah.
they dropped to a third.
Okay, so maybe we remove the quorum and we said if you are 50% of the time here, but how do you determine if you are 50% of the time here? So let's say
Out of,
today,
it's out of any 12-month period if you've attended 50% of
Yeah.
the meetings. That's what we use. So out of a 6-month period, have you come to at least 3 of the meetings?
okay.
And
Okay,
the quorum could be based on like if the membership of the steering committee is 13 people, you have to have 7 people there to have quorum or something so that it's it, but it's whatever you guys are comfortable with.
do you guys wanna use the quorum or just whoever is present at the meeting?
India has her hand up. You should.
Sorry.
Oh yes, please, Miss India.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think we should, whatever we decide, we not start it with this meeting, but the next one, because we need to inform everyone of what we're gonna do. You understand what I'm saying? You would ask, should we start with this meeting? I'm saying, no, it should start with the next meeting, because you need to send an email out to folks to explain to them what our new procedure is.
Okay,
Plus,
that's all I want.
plus we use only 50%. In other words, you have to attend 50% of the meetings, and then a quorum would be 50% of the membership. That's what we use.
Mm.
And
Okay,
like I said, that's at every county level, and that's also at the state level.
And
Will
It's-
subcommittee attendance count?
can I say something here?
sure.
One, I think that we should have quorum. Let me give you my face. I think that we should have quorum. And I believe that 75% of those meetings should be with you because you are giving us our directive. And the subcommittee, I believe it should take a portion in there, but I think the main 75% belongs with the head of this project, not the
You're saying
sub.
75%. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, I'm confused. I
because
hear 50, I hear 75. What
Uh,
are we
I
saying?
that's
I,
just my opinion, and mainly because even though I've been assigned to a subcommittee, I've never been contacted,
yeah.
and so
So,
I have a concern with that.
yeah. All right. So what if we go with 50 well, I'm just going to suggest that we go by rules that I know that I already have to live with, which is 50% of the meetings in any period of time, whether it be 6-month periods, 3 out of 6 months, 12-month periods, 6 out of 12 months. And then a quorum is constituted by at least 50%. Well, I think we go 51% of the membership, but we never required 3/4 because you never have a vote. So you can create rules, but if they stand in the way of you ever having a successful vote, there's no point in having those rules.
No, this is good. That's why we're having this discussion. So is everybody agree with 50% of meeting for attendance, and for quorum 50% of the members?
Well, the thing is, I think for me, we need to define what attendance means. If you're saying attendance at this meeting, that's one thing, as opposed to attendance at this meeting and the subcommittee. Like I said, I see people. Like I said, like I told you, the number of people 1, 2, 3, 4. So our people that have been to the subcommittees and they haven't been to this meeting. Now, and I know it's not intentional; it's because of conflicts and different things going on, that kind of thing. But if you're going to say that a subcommittee attendance qualifies you to vote, I would go along with the 50% quorum, and I think important, how we define what constitutes attendance.
Okay, so the subcommittee are required because they are your means to advance this project, because that's where everything is happening. That's where your ideas are getting out. That's where you're putting your plan together, and this is just really serving as a reporting and a voting on what you are coming with. So I feel like those subcommittees should be at least be attended by more than 50%. But it's just me.
Because I mean, the people that came on my subcommittee were in this meeting at some point that said I want to be on that subcommittee.
Yes.
Right. I don't know
Samantha, you were gonna
how,
say something?
sorry.
No, you were gonna say something, Amy?
I don't know how like, this group that's meeting now is kind of like the decision-making deliberative body that would, in all my experience with different like neighborhood associations or nonprofit boards, et cetera, like this would be the body that would take the vote, and the attendance here and a percentage of that attendance qualifies you to vote here. I think it's going to be tricky to have some sort of hybrid thing where, let's say Jane comes to only 30% of these meetings, but comes to 75% of a subcommittee meeting. But at these meetings, Jane misses enough meetings that she's kind of only half clued in to the deliberations of this body as a collective. Like so I don't know. I don't know how that, I've never seen that structure for qualifying people to vote at sort of this steering committee deliberative body level. I'm not saying you can't do it. I don't quite know how to make that work, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know if there's a different way that we have people on the subcommittees. I mean, you're already, I assume, voting or, operating by consensus at that subcommittee level on what's most important to you. So I'm just have a concern about how you kind of have a hybrid attendance record system.
I agree, and I think that's the challenge, because if we have 5 subcommittees or something, and how many of the heads of those subcommittees are at this meeting?
We have 3.
Right. So I mean, so that's why I'm saying, I hear what you're saying, and I think it goes back to what India said. I think a lot of, maybe some of the people might not realize the importance that they need to attend these meetings. I think that we really need to communicate to them that you need to show up so that you have the power to vote, and let them know that it's important for them to show up at the meetings, to make a quorum, to move things forward, because we're at the point in this work group that we're beyond that formation. We're beyond the formation thing that, we will make those allowances. But we're at the point now where we have to make some serious decisions that are going to make some differences in policies and the way money is spent, and that their attendance is important.
So I think you guys need to, as you do, you guys are the leaders making the decisions. And yes, if the broader group can be informed of the importance of that, people are welcome to participate and come back to this steering committee and understand that the attendance is important. And if you're going to head a subcommittee, you should definitely be coming to this steering committee. There can be other people who decide to participate in a subcommittee that may or may not choose to be part of the steering committee. At least that's my experience of different kinds of organizations, if that makes sense.
Right.
And I feel like it's important to be part of this general meeting, because this is where everything is happening. You get to hear what the subcommittees are doing, and you get to vote. So I feel like this is more important, but you, as the leader of the subcommittee, you have to be able to coordinate with your subcommittees and let them know, hey, we have a meeting. It's a requirement because I cannot do this by myself. So first of all, there is a requirement to meet in between these, these general meetings, but also there is a requirement to have as many people attend those meetings. And I think I'm leaving that to the leads, to the subcommittee leads to make sure that they have enough attendance. But I think for me, it would be really hard to, manage both groups. And I can only manage this general meeting and make sure that this is well attended and that you attend these meetings at least 50% of the time.
Someone had their hand up.
I did, Linda Keith, and I know I haven't got on a committee yet. I'm listening in, but just hearing something came to mind about this committee right here is the steering committee, if I'm correct, right? So everything that goes on in the subcommittee has to come to the steering committee.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that maybe this is the committee that needs the voting power, and the subcommittees maybe need to make the decision and recommend them to this committee. And then you might have a representative from each committee, that is mandatory that they attend the steering committee so they can take back to what is going on. I mean, if I'm making sense, I might, be just overthinking it, but just an idea
You're making
of how
sense.
to do the voting part.
You're making sense.
Yep.
So just don't have the subcommittees have the final vote, but come up with
Right.
the process for the steering committee
Right.
to be able to vote. And maybe you talk about the 50% attendance. Even if the chair can't come, then they can appoint one of their other members to come.
I don't want to end up having 3 members in these committees. So I think it's important for many people to attend this and just hear what other subcommittees are doing and what we're voting on, and not just
Right.
leave it to the lead to attend and report back.
Right, because this is where the votes are going to be taking place. If we're talking about steering committee votes, then your most active membership has got to be focused on getting to those steering committee meetings. Otherwise, I mean, what would be the point? This is the steering committee vote that we're talking about.
Okay, so what do we decide now? We decided on we needed 50% of attendance on these meetings and 50% for quorum. What about the subcommittees?
I think that in your voting procedures, I think you need to add another item that states that to be considered a voting member, they have to have 50% attendance at the steering committee meeting.
50% attendance at the subcommittees?
No, a steering committee.
Yes, I will add those. So 50% attendance at the steering committee
To
and for a quorum.
No, we're not. I'm not even at the quorum yet. The quorum and your attendance requirement should be separate items. That you need to have 50% attendance at the steering committee to qualify as a voting member. That should be
Yes,
a
I
separate,
understand that.
and that should be a separate item from what constitutes a quorum. And the quorum would be constituted, like if you said 50% as opposed to 2/3.
It probably needs to be 50% plus 1.
Plus one. Mhm.
So now what I want to go through is the list of members we have right now, because we have some members that haven't attended this meeting for a while. Should we just cut them? Or what do we do here?
I think
Have they
India,
missed- have they presented to me?
suggested that we should inform them first
Yeah.
and let them know that we are moving to another phase, a phase where we're making important decisions, and that it's important for them to be here to qualify the vote and we need to let them know what that is going to be. They have to have attend the steering committee at least 50% within whatever period of time he doesn't have. I think I said a year or something. They need to be informed, and if so that they will know that they need to step up their game and why they need to step up their game.
Okay. Let me see what else we have here.
Do we know the date of the next meeting?
Yes. It's at the bottom of the agenda. It's October 12th.
The other item, number 5, we reduced.
Oh,
we,
well,
we
I
took
know
out-
I can't be at that one. You know why? That's the night of the gubernatorial debate. And I'm going to be hosting a watch party.
Mhm.
You're all invited. It'll be at the Pikesville Hilton. But no, I definitely will not be available for that one.
All right.
If we change 3, item number 3, from 2/3 to 50% plus 1 is the quorum. So if we go down to item number 5, they said in order to pass a motion, you need 2/3 of the members voting. Do we still want to keep that at 2/3?
Oh, let me go back to the voting procedures. Are you talking about number 5?
Yes. We changed number 3 to 50% plus 1. Do we still want to keep this at 2/3?
Same thing,
To
50% plus
pass?
1. No, it should
50%
be,
plus 1. Is that what we said?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. And then here, 2/3. This is 50% plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about attendance. Okay, so attendance was here, voting member. What constitutes a voting member? Criteria for being a voting member would be 50% attendance in the committee meetings. Is that right? Am I getting this right?
And 50% in the steering committee.
Of the steering committee.
Yeah.
Right. 50% attendance of the steering committee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everything else on here is okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then that will require, well, that will decide who will be the voting members. So since we just talked about this, I don't think we can vote on anything today, can we?
No, because we
No.
haven't really notified everyone.
Yeah.
So the 3 items that needed vote has to wait until next meeting again?
Mm-hmm.
Have these been presented to anyone yet? I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing these.
It was
Have
in
you
my
been-
email yesterday with the agenda.
Right, but
for discussion, yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying is because this is the first time it was presented in this meeting. I don't know if it would be right to just go ahead and say we're going to vote since we had it. I mean, shouldn't we at least send it out and tell people they need to be here because we are going to vote this in, or do we just go ahead and vote?
Okay.
I think you all need to share it with the broader group and let them know that, if you have any suggested amendments, send them by this date that can be voted on as amendments separately, but that the vote's going to happen at the next meeting or whatever date, so that they have an opportunity to attend and vote.
Okay. Sounds good. Because one important project we were going to vote today was what is the next project to implement with the rest of the money. So that's going to have to wait until October 12th. And again, if I send the agenda and those items for vote, know that you can vote by email if you know that you're not going to attend the meeting.
Right.
Okay. So next item on the agenda is in-person meetings. Like I said in the beginning, some members have expressed the desire to do these in person, because you get more interaction than the virtual meetings. So what are your thoughts?
I'll go first. Well, first of all, with it getting dark earlier now, I know I'm not coming out for an evening meeting. So, and with my work schedule, just the virtual works for me. I don't mind an occasional in-person meeting, but not all of them.
Okay.
And I'm going to vote with you.
Mhm.
I feel the same. It is getting dark, and I'm scared of the dark. That's when the big ones start eating up the little ones, and I'm
Well,
Okay.
I'm for virtual meetings. I already have to attend a bunch of in-person meetings now. Bunch of my meetings are in person, and so I don't want to have to add to that. Um, but like I said, for anyone interested in the debate party, it will be in person.
Okay. Anybody else?
I will come down on side of the online meetings, especially during this time of the year. Maybe in the springtime when we have the longer days, we might say okay. But for now, I'm comfortable with the online meetings.
All right. So it seems like we'll do virtual and then revisit maybe, next year, for in person.
Mhm.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have. Are there any other topics that needs to be discussed today? Um, any updates maybe from planning from the CDO? I know Amy has some updates, maybe not for the CDO.
Well, I can tell you what I know, which is that the selection process it's still in process. And there's a formal way that things like this are done with the county by the purchasing department. So there are special procedures that they follow that I don't fully understand all their rules, but it's meant to make things as explicit as possible for anyone who wants to bid. And that's in process. I suspect we'll have something to share within the next month or so. Whether it'll be by the time of your next meeting or not, I suspect not quite, but I think within the next 6 weeks, we'll be able to be talking more openly about this. And, I'm very excited to get started with working, with working with the consultant and working with all of you to move that forward. So appreciate your patience.
Okay, any other topics you would like to discuss now? So next steps would be subcommittee meetings. Again, that's where everything's happening. That's where you get your proposal, your recommendation. So if you could have those subcommittee meetings prior to the steering committee meeting, it would be really nice. And then the next steering committee meeting is going to be October 12th. If you can't attend, you can just send me an email. If there's any items for vote, you can vote by email. And just to recap, I'll send an email maybe by Friday, just to recap what we talked about and share the information with everybody. And then at the next meeting, we should be able to start voting.
I think that's
Ask what time is the gubernatorial debate?
Hmm?
What time does it actually start?
They're going to record it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're going to have it will likely either start at 7 or 8. And since I'm going to be having people gather before that, lot of political folks over in Pikesville. But anyone in the county can attend. And so we're going to all be watching it together and commenting, things like that.
Does
I've
this
done it
group need,
before.
does this group need to consider a different meeting date if there are other people who are going to be busy as well, or does this date work best for everybody?
You said
I mean,
the debate is October the 5th?
October 12th, the next meeting date.
Oh, next meeting day. Oh,
So the question was, does anyone want to change the date because the gubernatorial debate is occurring at the same time? I don't even know if that's
At this
available.
point, there's only one planned, and that's it.
All right, so I'll,
Start
I'll,
that Thursday.
I cannot
Huh?
do on a Thursday. I have another meeting on a
Oh,
Thursday on the 11th, but I can move it to the 19th and see if that would be convenient with everybody.
What day of the week is the 19th?
It's the following week.
It's the following Wednesday.
Following Monday?
It's a
Wednesday.
week later.
Wednesday.
as far as I'm concerned, the meeting can stay on the 12th because if it's the only one, it's going to be either televised, it'll be shown on the public address stations, and I can always catch it, the recording that they'll probably have online. So as far as I'm concerned, the 12th works. But if you want to move to 19th, I have no problem with that.
We do a poll. I can
I don't
send,
have a problem with it being the 19th, but like I said, I have a different responsibility.
so I'll send as part of the recap, I'll send a poll for October 12th, October 19th, and we'll go with the majority.
given that it is sort of a historic election, I think that poll might be worth doing.
Also, Linda has a significant portion of the content for the meeting. If she's not going to be here, it's going to make the, the meeting less effective.
Okay.
But you all do what you want to do, but I am definitely.
Well, I say go with the 19th. We've moved meeting dates before, so I don't see why it should be a big
So
issue.
now you all do want someone from the MTA to come to the next meeting? Yay, nay?
Yes, I think that was what people said here, the member
Okay.
in the chat, that they would like to have someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Don't forget to take the survey for the charrette. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. See you, ladies.
good night. Thank you.